The Awakening. The grand chamber of the Galactic Assembly glittered with the light of 1,000 stars, its curved walls displaying real-time projections of distant nebulae and cosmic phenomena. Representatives from over 300 species filled the tiered seating, their bodies a kaleidoscope of evolutionary paths, some towering with multiple limbs, others floating in containment fields of specialized atmospheres, and many more forms beyond human imagination. At the center of this cosmic theater stood Ambassador Alina Chen, a solitary human figure in a simple Navy uniform. Her posture was relaxed yet dignified, hands clasped behind her back as she gazed up at the Assembly's High Council, the 7 most powerful species who governed interstellar affairs. The vote has been tallied, announced Archonvex Moore, the massive arthropoid leader of the council. His mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among his kind. With an overwhelming majority of 298 votes to 2, the Assembly has determined that Earth and its colonies shall be designated as a Class C civilization, subject to resource extraction and labor allocation. In diplomatic terms, Earth had just been sentenced to slavery. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of sounds, chittering, hooting, the strange harmonic tones of crystalline beings, all celebrating their decision. Resource-rich Earth with its billions of adaptable workers would fuel their economies for centuries. Alina Chen didn't flinch. She didn't plead. She simply nodded once, her face betraying nothing. Ambassador Chen, Vexmore continued, leaning forward on his segmented limbs, standard procedure grants you a final statement before implementation begins, though I should warn you, his mandibles clicked again. No amount of human rhetoric has ever reversed an assembly decision. The chamber quieted. Even in their triumph, they were curious about this final, futile gesture from the human. Alina stepped forward. When she spoke, her voice carried effortlessly through the vast space. Thank you, Urchin Vexmore. She smiled a small, knowing smile that seemed oddly out of place. On behalf of Earth and all human colonies, I would like to express our appreciation for this clarity. Murmurs of confusion rippled through the assembly. For centuries, humanity wondered if we were alone in the universe, Elena continued. Then we discovered your civilizations, your wonders, your achievements. We approached you with open hands and open hearts. She paused, her smile fading. And now you have shown us exactly who you are. The chamber grew still. Something in her tone had shifted, not to anger, not to desperation, but to something colder. You see us as primitives. Our ships seem basic to you, our weapons outdated, our territory small. You believe we are easy prey. She reached into her pocket and withdrew a small device. You have made a profound error in judgment. With a simple tap on the device, the cosmic displays surrounding the chamber changed. Gone were the nebulae and stars. Instead, massive ships appeared, black, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Weapons platforms orbiting distant moons. Underground facilities stretching for kilometers beneath Earth's surface. What is this? Demanded Vex Moore, rising to his full 3-meter height. Reality, Elena replied calmly. For the past 80 years, since our first contact with your scout ships, humanity has been preparing. While our official delegations attended your cultural exchanges and trade summits, we built. While our public-facing technologies remained deliberately modest, we innovated. We anticipated this day might come. The images shifted again, showing closer views of the ships. Their scale became apparent. Some were larger than small moons, bristling with weapon systems unlike anything the Assembly had encountered. These are the Erebus-class dreadnoughts, Alina explained, as if conducting a routine briefing. Just one division of our defense fleet. As we speak, they are moving into position around the home worlds of every council member. The chamber exploded into chaos. Delegates shouted, some fleeing toward the exits. The council members huddled together in urgent consultation. This is an outrage, bellowed Kurzana, the Avon council member. This is a deliberate violation of Assembly protocol. You were required to disclose all military capabilities. Alina looked at the bird-like alien with something resembling pity. Just as you were required to conduct fair and impartial votes on civilization classifications. We simply played by your unwritten rules. She tapped the device again. The images shifted to show something new, a microscopic view of tiny machines, barely visible to the naked eye. These are our architect nanites, she continued. For the past 5 years, they've been integrated into every trade good, every diplomatic gift, every cultural exchange item that left Earth. They're dormant now, but upon activation, she let the implication hang in the air. You're bluffing, hissed Arconvex more, though uncertainty had crept into his voice. Alina shook her head. 3 days ago, when it became clear which way this vote would go, we activated a small number of them within your central defense networks. Just enough to give us access. Just enough to ensure we could respond appropriately to today's decision. She tapped the device once more and, as if on cue, the chamber's lights flickered. The security doors sealed shut. The personal shields carried by the council members fizzled and died. The Galactic Assembly has existed for 9,000 years, Elena said, her voice echoing in the suddenly silent chamber. In all that time, you've encountered species who were either too primitive to resist or too honorable to strike first. Humanity is neither. Fear, pure, primal fear, now rippled through the assembly. Many of these species had never known military defeat. Some had never even conceived of it as a possibility. What do you want? Asked Vexmore, his earlier arrogance evaporated. Justice, Elena replied simply. The 2 votes against our enslavement came from the Tyranny Collective and the other concordants. They alone recognized our right to exist freely. They alone will be spared what comes next. She stepped back from the central platform and gestured to the exits, which hissed open. You have 6 hours to evacuate your diplomatic personnel from this station. After that, it becomes the headquarters of the Earth Defense Command. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and one more thing. The nanites in your systems, they're transmitting the access codes for your planetary defense shields as we speak. With that, Ambassador Chun walked calmly from the chamber, leaving behind the now panicking representatives of the most powerful civilizations in the known universe. Admiral Hiroshi Tanaka stood on the bridge of the EDF Leviathan, the flagship of Earth's hidden fleet. At 87, he was one of the few who remembered the very beginning, the first contact, the secret meetings, the decision to prepare in silence. Status report, he ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. All ships in position, Admiral, replied his executive officer. The Arba squadrons have achieved geosynchronous orbit over all 7 Council homeworlds. Shield penetration protocols are ready. Tanaka nodded. And the evacuation? Our intelligence suggests they're taking Ambassador Chin's warning seriously. Most diplomatic ships have already departed the assembly station. Good. Tanaka moved to the central holodisplay, where a real-time map showed the positioning of Earth's forces throughout the galaxy. They had been hidden for decades, some in deep space, others disguised as commercial vessels, many more concealed within rogue planets and asteroids. A soft chime sounded, and Ambassador Chin's face appeared on the main screen. Admiral, she nodded in greeting. I'm aboard the transport vessel now. The message has been delivered. And their response? Chin's expression was grim. Exactly as expected. Fear, then denial, then desperate attempts to communicate with their military commands. When I left, the Zorat delegate was threatening to personally eat my liver. Despite everything, Tanaka smiled slightly. They always were a dramatic species. The 6-hour window was a courtesy, Chin reminded him. If they attempt to mobilize their fleets, then... We move immediately, Tanaka finished. I understand. Safe journey, Ambassador. As the communication ended, Lieutenant Commander Oshiro approached with a data tablet. Sir, we're receiving thousands of transmission attempts from across the galaxy. It seems the news is spreading. Let them talk, Tanaka replied. Let them beg. Let them threaten. In 6 hours, none of it will matter. He turned back to the holodisplay, watching as the first of the Assembly's evacuation vessels fled the station. They moved like startled fish, darting frantically in all directions. They never imagined we could be a threat, Oshiro observed quietly. Tanaka's face hardened. No. And that was their mistake. Humanity spent its entire history fighting itself, preparing for enemies that might never come. When we finally met aliens, we hoped for peace. We truly did. But we never stopped preparing for war. He looked out at the stars, at the distant pinpricks of light that represented inhabited worlds. And now they'll learn what humanity does to those who threaten our freedom. 6 hours later, as the last diplomatic shuttle cleared the assembly station's docking ports, Admiral Tanaka gave the order, begin Phase 1. Throughout the galaxy, human ships emerged from hiding. The Erebus dreadnoughts, visible now above the Council homeworlds, activated their primary weapons not to fire, not yet, but to demonstrate unmistakably that they could. On thousands of worlds, the dormant nanites awakened. They didn't destroy or sabotage, they simply locked out all command functions, rendering the galaxy's most advanced defense systems useless. And at the assembly station itself, Earth's Special Forces teams took control with surgical precision. No shots fired, no blood spilled, just the swift, efficient occupation of the most important political hub in known space. As reports flooded in confirming the success of Phase 1, Tanaka allowed himself a moment of reflection. This was not a victory to celebrate. It was merely the beginning of a new era, an era where humanity would no longer hide its strength or bow to the arrogance of older civilizations. Send the broadcast, he ordered. Across every communication channel, on every world that had voted for Earth's enslavement, the same message played. It showed Ambassador Chun, now standing on the Council's platform in the Assembly Chamber. To all civilizations of the Galactic Assembly, she began, her voice firm but not triumphant. Today marks a turning point in our shared history. The old order, built on exploitation and domination, has ended. A new one begins, one founded on mutual respect and genuine cooperation. She gestured to the empty council seats around her. Your leaders voted to enslave Earth. They have paid the price for that decision. Your military forces are now neutralized. Your defense systems are under our control. But unlike you, we do not seek to conquer or enslave. We seek justice. Her expression softened slightly. Each world will receive specific instructions within the next 24 hours. Those who cooperate will find humanity to be reasonable and fair. Those who resist. She paused. Well, you've seen just a fraction of what we can do. As the broadcast ended and the screen returned to the tactical display, Admiral Tanaka turned to his crew. And so it begins, he said quietly. The reckoning. The reckoning, the crew echoed. The first world to feel humanity's measured response was Yora Prime, home to the Zorid Imperium, the most vocal advocates for Earth's enslavement, and the first to volunteer their battlecruisers for the planned invasion. The Zorids were a predatory species evolved from apex carnivores on their harsh desert world. For millennia, they had conquered and consumed, both literally and figuratively. Their society was built on a simple principle: the strong devour the weak. Now, as darkness fell over their capital city of Kravash, they discovered what it meant to be prey. Silent ships descended through the atmosphere, black against the night, visible only by the stars they momentarily eclipsed. The Zorid planetary defense grid, once considered impenetrable, didn't fire a single shot. The supposedly autonomous backup systems remained dormant. Even the primitive projectile weapons stockpiled for emergencies failed to launch. The human strike teams moved with precision that bordered on artistry. They targeted military installations, government buildings, and command centers, but not with explosives or energy weapons. Instead, they deployed a technology that the Shorits, for all their warlike advancement, had never considered: targeted electromagnetic pulses calibrated to each species' technology. In less than an hour, the mighty Zord Imperium was effectively paralyzed. No communications, no transportation, no weapons. Just silence and darkness spreading across their cities. From her command post on the newly captured assembly station, now renamed Unity Point, Ambassador Chun watched the operation unfold on tactical displays. Minimal casualties reported, her aide informed her. Mostly injuries from panic and evacuation attempts. The Zord High Command has been secured. Chun nodded, her expression somber. There was no joy in this victory, only grim determination. Bring their leader to the communication chamber, she ordered. It's time they understood the terms of their new reality. Supreme Warlord Krax of the Zord Imperium had never known fear. His species did not evolve with that particular emotion. They knew hunger, rage, satisfaction, but not fear. Yet as he was escorted into the communication chamber by silent human guards, he experienced something uncomfortably close to it. His proud crest, usually flared in dominance, lay flat against his scaled head. The holographic image of Ambassador Chun appeared before him, her small human form somehow more intimidating than any juror warrior. Supreme Warlord, she acknowledged with a slight nod. Your world is now under Earth's protection. Krax hissed, his four eyes narrowing. Protection? You mean occupation? No, Chen replied calmly. Occupation would involve the systematic exploitation of your people and resources. That is not our intention. She gestured, and the holographic display changed to show images of Joric colonies, planets they had conquered, species they had enslaved or driven to extinction. This is occupation, Warlord Krax. This is what your species has done to 17 others. This is what you intended for Earth. Krax's secondary arms twitched in agitation. We are predators. It is our nature to conquer. And it is human nature to protect what is ours, Chin countered. But we've learned something your species has not. Evolution doesn't end with biology. Societies can evolve too. Predators can learn cooperation. The display changed again, showing Zorit citizens going about their lives, now under the watchful eyes of human drones. Your military has been neutralized. Your government now answers to an Earth Oversight Council. But your civilians, those who have committed no crimes, will continue their lives with minimal disruption. Krax's crest rose slightly in confusion. You're not taking slaves? Not claiming territory? No, Chin said firmly. Within one standard year, once a stable transitional government is in place, Earth forces will withdraw from Jorit space. You will remain independent, but with conditions. She leaned forward, her eyes locked with his. You will never again build weapons capable of interstellar deployment. You will never again enslave another species. You will make reparations to those you have harmed. And you will remember that when you had power, you chose cruelty, and when we had power, we chose justice. The supreme warlord of the once mighty Zordid Imperium stood silent for a long moment. Then, in a gesture that would have been unthinkable days earlier, he lowered his head in submission. We understand, he said quietly. Yura accepts these terms. News of the Zord capitulation spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Planets that had prepared for resistance suddenly reconsidered. Those that had begun evacuations paused. The paradigm had shifted in ways no one had anticipated. Earth wasn't behaving like a typical conqueror. In the following weeks, humanity's forces systematically dismantled the military capabilities of each council world, one by one. The most powerful species in known space surrendered without a fight, their weapons deactivated by nanites, their ships locked in orbital stasis fields. Their choices were limited. Most expected retribution, enslavement, or worse. None expected what came instead. Admiral Tanaka stood in the newly constructed Hall of Reconciliation on Unity Point, watching as representatives from over 300 species filed in. The mood was somber, tense. These were the same delegates who had so recently voted for Earth's enslavement. Now they sat before humanity's judgment. Ambassador Chun took the central platform, her simple uniform a stark contrast to the elaborate regalia of the alien delegates. We have called you here today not to gloat, not to threaten, but to establish a new framework for galactic civilization, she began. The old assembly was built on power hierarchies and exploitation. The new galactic concord will be built on different principles. Behind her, a holographic charter manifested hundreds of pages of legal text, ethical frameworks, and organizational structures. We've spent decades studying your societies, your histories, your legal systems. We've learned from your mistakes and your achievements alike, and we've created something new, she gestured to the document. Every species, regardless of technological advancement or military strength, will have equal representation. Resources will be fairly distributed. Conflict resolution will be mandatory before any military action. And any attempt to enslave or subjugate another species will be met with immediate intervention. Murmurs spread through the hall, some of disbelief, others of cautious optimism. This is not a human empire, Chin continued. Earth will not rule. We will serve as guardians of this charter for 100 years, after which leadership will rotate among all member worlds. Urchin Vexmore, the former council leader who had so smugly announced Earth's enslavement, raised a limb. And if we refuse these terms? He asked, his mandibles clicking nervously. Chin's expression remained neutral. That is your right. Any world may choose to remain outside the Concord, but they will do so without advanced technology, without interstellar travel capability, and without the protection the Concord offers. She let those words sink in before continuing. You all voted to make humanity your slaves. Instead, we offer to make you our equals. The choice is yours. 6 months later, Admiral Tanaka stood on the observation deck of the Leviathan, watching as construction drones swarmed around what would become the headquarters of the Galactic Concord, a massive station at the system's L4 Lagrange point. 287 species have ratified the charter, reported Lieutenant Commander Oshiro, standing at his side. Even the Jorits have signed, though they insisted on adding ceremonial blood marks to the document. Tanaka smiled slightly. And the holdouts? Just 15 worlds, mostly the former council members and their closest allies. Pride is a powerful force. Indeed it is, Tanaka agreed. But reality is stronger still. They'll join eventually when they see the benefits the others receive. He turned from the viewport to face his officer. And Earth? How are our people responding? Oshiro's expression softened with relief. Mostly positive. The public revelations about our secret preparations were shocking at first, but now that they understand why it was necessary. He shrugged. Polls show 89% approval for the current approach. Tanaka nodded, satisfied. Humanity had walked a dangerous line, preparing for war while hoping for peace, developing weapons they prayed would never be used. The ethical burden of that secrecy had weighed heavily on those who knew. Sir, Oshiro said hesitantly, if I may ask, did you ever believe it would come to this? Did you think the Assembly would actually vote for our enslavement? The Admiral was silent for a long moment, gazing out at the stars. I hoped they wouldn't, he finally answered. For 80 years, I hoped we were building defenses that would never be needed. I hoped the Assembly would recognize our right to exist freely. But hope is not a strategy, Commander. He gestured toward the construction site, where ships from dozens of worlds now work together. And sometimes it takes a demonstration of strength to create the possibility of peace. The Concord exists because we were prepared for war. On a remote world at the edge of known space, Ambassador Chin stood beneath an alien sky, watching twin moons rise over a landscape of purple vegetation. Beside her stood an elder of the Murielin species, one of the many civilizations that had suffered under the Assembly's rule. When the humans first contacted us, Alaris said, her voice musical despite her age, we were afraid. Our last experience with spacefaring races had been traumatic. Chin nodded, understanding. The Murielins had been classified as a resource species by the Assembly centuries ago, their world stripped of rare minerals, their people used as test subjects for various genetic experiments. Yet you took a chance on us, Chin observed. You were one of the first to share intelligence about the Assembly's true nature. AAR's skin rippled in what passed for a smile among her kind. We saw something in humans that we had not seen in other species, a contradiction that gave us hope. A contradiction? Yes, the elder said. You built weapons of tremendous power, yet you genuinely desired peace. You prepared for the worst while working for the best. Most species choose one path or the other, aggression or pacifism. Humans embraced both simultaneously. She gestured to where Murielin children played with human engineers helping to install new water purification systems, a gift from Earth. That is why, despite everything, I believe the Concord will succeed where the Assembly failed. You understand that peace must sometimes be defended with the possibility of force. Chun watched the children, human and alien together, and felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The path forward would not be easy. Old hatreds would not disappear overnight. But for the first time in human history, the galaxy was moving toward genuine cooperation rather than domination. We came close to losing everything, she said quietly. If the Assembly had attacked before we were ready. But they didn't, Alara reminded her. They underestimated you. They saw what they expected to see, a young species, naive and vulnerable. The alien elder turned to face Chin directly, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the moonlight. Now they see the truth. Humanity is neither predator nor prey. You are something else entirely, something new. Something that, perhaps, this galaxy has needed for a very long time. Back on Earth, in the underground complex that had coordinated humanity's shadow preparations for decades, Director Lydia Carter supervised the final task of the Awakening Protocol. Begin decommissioning, she ordered. Around her, technicians worked at control stations, sending commands to facilities across the solar system and beyond. One by one, the most devastating weapons humanity had developed, planet killers, star destabilizers, and worse, were safely dismantled. These were the weapons they had never intended to use, the last resort if all else failed. Now, with the Concord established and peace taking root, they were no longer necessary. Weapon System Omega deactivated, reported a technician. Thenido's protocol terminated. Black Sun Array powering down. Carter nodded, watching as decades of terrible innovation were laid to rest. They had served their purpose, not by being used, but by making humanity strong enough to change the rules of the game. Director, said her assistant, approaching with a data tablet. The final report from Unity Point. The transition is complete. The Concord Council has been seated with representatives from all member worlds. Carter took the tablet, scrolling through the report with a sense of both accomplishment and relief. And the former council species? The Zorits and the Vex have signed the charter. The others are still holding out, but negotiations continue. Ambassador Chen believes they'll join within the year. Carter set down the tablet and looked up at the massive display showing Earth beautiful, blue, and now truly safe for the first time since humanity had discovered they weren't alone in the universe. They thought we were weak, she said softly. They thought we would be easy prey. She turned to her team, the men and women who had worked in secret for so long, preparing for a day they hoped would never come. Instead, we showed them something they had never seen before, strength tempered with mercy, power used for justice rather than domination. As the last weapon system went offline, a soft chime sounded throughout the facility. The awakening protocol was complete. The reckoning had ended, and humanity had emerged not as conquerors, but as guardians of a new galactic order. "What now?" asked her assistant. Carter smiled, a genuine smile, free from the burden she had carried for so long. "Now," she said, "we build something better than what came before. Something that will last." Outside the facility, Earth citizens went about their lives, most of them still adjusting to the knowledge that their planet had nearly become a slave world, and that their leaders had been preparing in secret for generations to prevent it. But as news of the Concord spread, as the truth of what humanity had accomplished became clear, a new sense of purpose united them. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger. They had confronted tyranny and created justice. And in doing so, they had changed the course of galactic history forever.